Hello guys and welcome to Biology with Dilaire. Today's lecture is about Kingdom Protista. What they are, where did they come from, we're gonna figure this whole thing out. Don't forget to subscribe our channel on YouTube and follow us on Instagram. Let's get started. Protists are simple eukaryotic organisms that are neither plants nor animals or fungi. As a result, it's a very diverse group of organisms. The eukaryotes that make up this kingdom do not have much in common, besides a relatively simple organization. Generally, protists are microscopic unicellular organisms, though some of them, like seaweed, are large and multicellular. Some protists, such as algae, are photosynthetic and can make their own food, which means they are autotrophic, while others are heterotrophic and seek out food sources in their external environment. The term Protista is derived from the Greek word protistos, meaning the very first. Scientists speculate that protists form a link between plants, animals, and fungi, as these three kingdoms diverged from a common protist-like ancestor. Billions of years ago, though these protist-like ancestors is a hypothetical organism, we can trace some genes found in modern animals and plants to these ancient organisms. Therefore, these organisms are traditionally considered as the very first eukaryotic forms of life and a predecessor to plants, animals, and fungi. Characteristics of Kingdom Protista. The primary features of all protists is that they are eukaryotic organisms. It means that they have a membrane-enclosed nucleus. These are usually aquatic, present in the soil or in areas with moisture. Just like any other eukaryotes, the cells of this species have a nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. They may be autotrophic or heterotrophic in nature. An autotrophic organism can create their own food and survive, while a heterotrophic organism, on the other hand, has to derive nutrition from other organisms such as plants or animals to survive. Symbiosis is observed in the member of this class. For instance, kelp or seaweed is a multicellular protist that provides otters protection from predators amidst its thick kelp. In turn, the otters eat sea urchins that tend to feed on kelp. Parasitism is also observed in protists. Species such as Trypanosoma protozoa can cause sleeping sickness in humans. Protists exhibit locomotion through cilia and flagella. A few organisms belonging to Kingdom Protista have pseudopodia that help them to move. Protista reproduce by asexual means. This sexual method of reproduction is extremely rare and occurs only during times of stress. Classification of Protista. Kingdom Protista is highly diverse and its members have few similarities with one another. Protists can be broadly classified as animal-like protists, plant-like protists, or fungi-like protists, based on characteristics they share with animals, plants, and fungi. Animal-like protists. Animal-like protists are also known as protozoa, meaning first animal. This is because they thought to have evolved from bacteria to become some of the first eukaryotes on Earth. All other animal life is believed to have developed from these early eukaryotes. Almost all protozoa are heterotrophs, meaning they found nutrients from their environment rather than producing carbohydrate via photosynthesis. Protozoan cells contain mitochondria for the production of energy and digestive vacuoles for the digestion of food. Examples of animal-like protists. There are four main types of protozoa, which are classified based on where they live and how they move around. These are Rhizopoda, Ciliates, Flagellates, and Sporozoa. And now we are going to explain them in more details. Okay, now Rhizopoda. Rhizopoda are characterized by pseudopodia, as you can see it in the figure below, or false feet we can say. These are finger-like projections of the cytoplasm, which branches out from the cell and allow them to move around. Rhizopoda also use their pseudopodia to capture bacteria and smaller protozoans, which they then engulf and digest using digestive vacuoles. The main type of Rhizopoda are amoebas. As we can see it's on my right. Structure of amoeba. They live in freshwater and ocean habitats and typically reproduce asexually by binary fission. Some amoeba are parasites. For example, entamoeba is the cause of amoebic dysentery. Ciliates, for example, Paramecium. Ciliates are covered in tiny hair-like structures called cilia, which they use to propel them through water. Ciliates also use their cilia to waft algae and bacteria into a mouse-like groove in their cell membrane. In turn, ciliates are a food source for larger protozoans such as amoeba. They use their cilia also in locomotion as well as nutrition. They are always aquatic. Flagellates. As the name suggests, the members of this group have flagella. They can be free-living as well as parasite. For example, Euglena. Flagellates have flagella, whip or tail-like structures that they use to propel them through their watery habitats. Many flagellates also use their flagella to capture food particles, so they may also absorb nutrients from their surrounding environments. A few flagellates, the phytoflagellates, can produce their own food via photosynthesis. Some flagellates, like Trypanosoma and Giardia, are parasites and can cause sleeping sickness and giardiasis. Sporozoans. Example, Plasmodium. Sporozoans are a type of parasite and rely entirely on their hosts for nourishment. These protozoa don't have pseudopodia, cilia, or flagella. Instead, they have a specialized structure called an apical complex, which they use to wedge themselves into a host cell. Plant-like protists. Plant-like protists are also known as algae. They are considered plant-like because they contain chloroplast and chlorophyll and make their own food via photosynthesis. Algae also contain a cell wall made of cellulose. However, unlike true plants, algae do not have leaves, stems, or roots. As photosynthetic organisms, algae play an important role as producers in aquatic ecosystems. They are also vital producers of oxygen and are thought to account for 50% of all oxygen production on Earth. Some algae, for example diatoms, are unicellular, but others are multicellular organisms. As you can see it in the figure below, it's an algae. Examples of plant-like protists. There are 7 major types of algae. Red algae. Red algae are usually found in tropical marine habitats, where they grow on solid surfaces, such as reefs. They have cell walls, but unlike other types of algae, they lack flagella. Red algae are often unicellular, but they can also be multicellular and form a variety of different seaweed types. Green algae or chlorophyta. Green algae are predominantly found in freshwater environments, though a small number of species are also found in the ocean. They may be unicellular or multicellular, but all contain chloroplast and produce their own food using photosynthesis. Brown algae. Brown algae can form a wide variety of seaweeds and are typically found in marine environments. One brown algae, the giant kelp, is the world's largest marine plant and can reach up to 215 feet in length. Yellow-green algae. Yellow-green algae are unicellular organisms with cell walls, chloroplast, and one or more flagella. They are the least common of all the algae types, with only 450 to 650 known species. Yellow-green algae are typically found in the freshwater environments, though a few are also found in saltwater and wet soil. Fire algae. Fire algae are also known as dinoflagellates. The name fire algae references the fact that some species are bioluminescent and emit an airy, nighttime glow that sets the ocean ablaze. This type of algal bloom can pose a significant health risk, as these protists produce a number of harmful toxins. Diatoms. Diatoms are the most abundant type of unicellular algae and are found in both fresh and saltwater environments. Many types of ocean-dwelling plankton are diatoms. Euglens are found in fresh and salt environments. They contain chloroplasts and can photosynthesize, but are also heterotrophic and feed on other unicellular organisms and carbon-rich materials in their environment. Euglena have flagella, which they use to propel themselves through water. Unlike most other algal species, Euglena do not have a cell wall. Instead, they are surrounded by a protein-rich layer called the pellicle. Fungi-like protists. Fungi-like protists are also known as molds. They often look like fungi and are found in damp environments. where they absorb nutrients from dead and decaying organic matters. They reproduce using spores and have cell walls. However, their cell walls are made of cellulose, whereas fungi cell walls are made of chitin. Examples of fungi-like protists. There are two main types of fungi-like protists. Slime mold. Slime molds are usually found growing on compost heaps and rotting logs, where they very slowly move around in search of decaying organic matter. When food sources are scarce, several single cells swarm together to form a blob-like mass. The other example is water molds. Water molds are typically found on surface water and moist soil. Many types of water mold are plant pathogens, while others are parasites of fish and other aquatic organisms. And we have come to an end. It was the last thing in this lecture. I hope it would be helpful to you guys. Until next lesson, may God be with you.